The sand was the color of dried blood, and Lieutenant Sarah Reaper Mitchell could taste it through her oxygen mask as she brought the A-10 Thunderbolt II into a banking turn over the Afghan valley. Below her, 15 miles from the nearest friendly position, 12 Navy SEALs were about to die. She'd heard the desperation in the voice that came crackling through her radio 10 minutes ago. The forward air controller's transmission had been clipped, professional, but underneath she'd caught the edge of something that made her blood run cold. Resignation. Any aircraft, this is Shark 26. We are danger close with enemy armor and approximately 100 plus hostiles. Request immediate close air support. We have multiple wounded and our Winchester on at weapons. Winchester. Out of anti-tank munitions. Surrounded. No way out. Sarah had been on a routine patrol 70 miles north, already low on fuel from a morning strike mission. Her wingman had peeled off 20 minutes earlier with a hydraulics issue. She was alone, nearly bingo fuel, and the SEALs were so far from friendly lines that by the time she got there, they'd likely be overrun. She pushed the throttles forward anyway. Now, as she crested the ridgeline and the valley opened up before her, she understood why the controller's voice had carried that note of finality. The SEALs were trapped in a dried riverbed with rocky walls on 3 sides and open ground on the 4th. 3 Soviet-era BTR armored personnel carriers were advancing from the north, with dismounted infantry following behind. More fighters poured from the hills on either side, moving with the coordinated precision of a well-planned assault. The SEALs had taken up defensive positions in a cluster of boulders at the valley's far end, but even from 3,000 feet up, Sarah could see they were pinned down. Muzzle flashes sparkled from the rocks, but they were vastly outnumbered. Shark 26, this is Hog 31, she transmitted, using the A-10's distinctive call sign. I'm a single-ship A-10 with mixed ordnance. I've got your position. Request immediate mark on primary target. There was a pause, then a different voice came through, younger, strained, with the unmistakable sound of gunfire behind it. Hog 31, Shark 26 actual. We've got 3 BTRs advancing from the north, grid November Delta 547218. They're 200 meters and closing. The transmission dissolved into static, then returned. Losing our defensive perimeter. If those BTRs get within effective range, we're done. Sarah's hands moved with practiced precision across the weapons panel. She had 2 Mavericks, a full load of 30mm ammunition for the GU-8 Avenger cannon, and enough fuel for maybe 2-3 passes before she'd have to break off or risk flaming out over hostile territory. Copy all, Shark 26. Danger close confirmed. I'm coming in hot from the south. Keep your heads down. She nosed the Warthog over, dropping altitude fast. The A-10 wasn't built for speed, it was built to take punishment and deliver devastation at close range. As she descended, she could see the details now. The BTRs churning up dust as they advanced, the clusters of fighters using the terrain for cover, the small knot of SEALs surrounded on 3 sides. The enemy had air defense. She saw the technical with the mounted Zu-23 anti-aircraft gun too late to change her approach. Tracers arced up toward her like deadly fireworks, passing close enough that she could see the individual rounds. The A-10 shuddered as something impacted the right wing, but the titanium bathtub surrounding her cockpit held. The Warthog could take a beating that would shred any other aircraft in the inventory. Sarah lined up the lead BTR in her targeting reticle, waited until she could see the commander in the open hatch and squeezed the trigger. The GU-8 Avenger roared to life with a sound like the world ripping in half. The 7-barrel rotary cannon fired depleted uranium rounds at 3,900 rounds per minute, and the effect on the BTR was catastrophic. The armored vehicle simply came apart, its thin armor no match for rounds designed to kill Soviet tanks. Secondary explosions blossomed as ammunition cooked off inside. Sarah didn't pause to admire her work. She jinked left, pulling the A-10 through a punishing turn as more anti-aircraft fire reached for her. The second BTR was trying to reverse, its commander realizing too late that he'd driven into a killing zone. She gave him a 2-second burst, walking the rounds from the rear of the vehicle to the front. It slewed sideways and stopped, smoke pouring from its engine compartment. Shark 26, 2 BTRs destroyed. Coming around for the third. Hog 31, the SEAL controller's voice was tight with pain. You are cleared hot. We've got wounded who can't move. Whatever you're going to do, do it now. The third BTR had stopped and was trying to deploy its troops, clearly hoping to rush the SEAL position before Sarah could line up another shot. The dismounted fighters were less than 100 meters from the rocks now, close enough that any missed rounds from her cannon could hit friendlies. This was why they called the A-10 the close and close air support. Sarah came in low and slow, dangerously exposed but needing the precision. She could see individual faces now, fighters turning to stare up at the ugly twin-engine aircraft bearing down on them. She pickled off her first Maverick, watched it streak downward and obliterate the third BTR in a fountain of fire and steel. Then she dropped to what pilots called danger close plus stupid, and opened up with the cannon again. The GU-8 was a precision instrument in the hands of a skilled pilot. Sarah walked her fire along the enemy positions with surgical accuracy, avoiding the SEAL position by mere meters. Fighters disappeared in clouds of dust and debris as 30mm rounds tore through their cover. She could feel the aircraft shudder with each sustained burst, feel the drum of empty casings rattling through the ejection system. Banking hard right, she caught sight of a group of fighters trying to flank the SEAL position from the east. Her last Maverick screamed off the rail and turned their covered position into a crater. Shark 2-6, all armor destroyed. You've got scattered infantry pulling back on all sides. I'm Winchester on Mavericks but still have 30 Mike. Talk to me about your status. There was a long pause and Sarah's heart sank. Then the SEAL controller's voice came back, and this time she could hear the disbelief in it. Hog 3-1, you just saved our asses. Enemy is in full retreat. We've got 4 critical wounded and 2 who can walk with help, but we're secure for now. Medevac is inbound but still 20 minutes out. Copy that. I've got enough fuel for one more pass, then I need to RTB or I'll be walking home. You want me to discourage any ideas about regrouping? Affirmative. Light 'em up. Sarah made one final strafing run, firing short bursts at the fleeing fighters. It wasn't about killing at this point, it was about making damn sure they kept running and didn't think about turning around before the helicopter arrived. As she climbed away from the valley, her fuel gauge hovering just above the red line, she heard a new voice on the radio. Deeper, with the gravelly quality of someone who'd been shouting orders and breathing dust. Hog 3-1, this is Shark 2-6 Actual. Senior Chief Jake Marston. Ma'am, I've been doing this job for 16 years and I've never seen flying like that. You came in alone, danger close, with AAA lighting you up, and you pulled our bacon out of the fire. I don't know your name, but every man in my team is going home to their families because of you. Sarah felt her throat tighten. She trained for this, prepared for this, but hearing the raw gratitude in the SEAL's voice made it real in a way that no training scenario ever could. Just doing my job, Senior Chief. You boys stay safe down there. Roger that. And Hog 3-1? I'm putting you in for a medal. Don't care if it takes me badgering Sockham for the next year. What's your name? Sarah hesitated. In the tight-knit community of A-10 pilots, your reputation followed you. But these men had nearly died today, and they deserved to know who'd kept them breathing. Mitchell, Senior Chief. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell. Call sign Reaper. Reaper. She could hear the smile in his voice. Yeah, that fits. You certainly reaped hell down there today. Shark 2-6 out. Sarah pointed the battered A-10 toward home, nursing her remaining fuel and trying to ignore the warning lights on her instrument panel. Her right wing had taken more damage than she'd realized. There was a hole the size of a basketball in the leading edge, and hydraulic fluid was seeping from somewhere in the engine cowling. She made it back to base running on fumes and prayers, the tower clearing every other aircraft out of her way when she declared an emergency. The landing was rough, the damaged wing making the Warthog want to drop sideways, but she got it down and taxied to the maintenance area on sheer determination. When she climbed out of the cockpit 40 minutes later, there was a crowd waiting. Her squadron commander, maintenance chief, and 3 other A-10 pilots who'd heard the radio traffic. They stood in silence as she removed her helmet, sweat plastering her hair to her head, her flight suit dark with perspiration. Then someone started clapping. Others joined in. Within seconds the entire flight line was applauding. Lieutenant Mitchell, her squadron commander said, his voice thick with emotion, that was some of the finest combat flying I've ever seen. The SEALs are already calling. Senior Chief Marston says his team wants to meet you when they rotate back. Sarah looked at her aircraft, counting the holes. 17. Any one of them could have been catastrophic. The armorer was already examining the empty ammunition pods, shaking his head in amazement at how much ordnance she'd expended. Sir, she said quietly, those men down there were out of options. They'd fought until they had nothing left to fight with. All I did was give them a chance. You gave them their lives back, the commander corrected. And trust me, Lieutenant, they won't forget it. None of us will. 3 months later, Sarah stood at attention in a ceremony she tried to avoid. The Distinguished Flying Cross hung heavy on her chest as the general read the citation detailing her actions that day. In the audience, still healing from their wounds, sat 12 Navy SEALs in their dress uniforms. When the ceremony ended and the crowd dispersed, Senior Chief Marston approached her. The man was built like a bull with a scar running from his temple to his jaw, a souvenir from the valley. "Ma'am," he said, then seemed to struggle with words. Finally he just extended his hand. "Thank you doesn't cover it. But thank you." Sarah shook his hand, feeling the calluses, the strength. "How's your team, Senior Chief?" "All of us made it home. 2 guys still in physical therapy, but they'll be back to full duty. Because of you." He paused then smiled. "The guys wanted me to tell you something. We took a vote and it was unanimous. You're an honorary SEAL now. We don't care what the Navy says about it, you're one of us." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes and blinked them back. That's the highest honor I can imagine, Senior Chief." "Call me Jake," he said. "And if you're ever in Virginia Beach, you've got 12 brothers who owe you their lives. The beer's on us. Forever." As she watched the SEALs file out, these warriors who'd faced death and walked away because of what she'd done, Sarah understood something profound. The medal on her chest was nice, the recognition meaningful, but this brotherhood forged in fire and desperation, was what she'd really earned that day in the valley. She was Reaper, the angel of death who'd arrived when hope was gone and turned defeat into survival. And for 12 men and their families, she'd always be the pilot who lit up the valley and brought them home.